All right, Dave. Your topic here, self-employment versus working for someone else, maybe my biggest paradigm shift.
Yeah, so 2019-ish, I went, at work, I was telling everybody I was trying a new hippie lifestyle, a lot of self-reflection and introspection, and really trying to figure out why I'm the way I am. And it's last year or so, I've really
Good
been
luck on
thinking
that,
about
pal.
it. I think the biggest life change I've had, like personal outlook, is I can't remember until the last year and a half, 2 years, somewhere in there. I always wanted to work for myself. Wanted to have a machine shop out here. And I don't mean like a side gig one, like that's just work for myself full time. That's it. Nothing else. Like that was the dream. You're not doing it right unless you're working for yourself. But in the last year and a half or 2 years, old Papa Kimball may have to like pick me up and carry me out. Like I'm not planning on going anywhere, and I don't think I'd work for myself. I can't imagine an amount of money that I would want to be like. I could do the work, but I'm afraid I'd never stop working. Like I'd always be worried about it not being there the next day, so I better do all the work you can do now, just in case it's not there tomorrow, and I'd freak out. And was talking to a guy at work about it. He's like, "Oh, I'd love to work for myself." I was like, "I was there once. The hell with that now." But maybe it's because I'm old. I don't know. I'm trying to decide if it's a midlife crisis thing. Is there like a cold draft coming under here? Anyway, I feel it on my fingertips. But I thought maybe that door creaked open. But anyway, I don't know if that's part of my midlife crisis.
Squirrel. You mean the door that we have to slam to close?
Well, I didn't know if it got slammed closed. I don't know what's going on there. We got to figure that out.
I think I'd have a big issue with like going to work if I was running my own work.
I got really close.
We'll get it tomorrow. Let's go fishing.
Now, see, Jenna's concern was because I got really close here. I had some machines lined out. I had been talking to REC about getting 3-phase out here at the shop and what that was going to take. I went and talked to somebody that was going to set me up with a no interest loan and some work to start with to get it kicked off. And then, so it's getting real close. And Jenna said, if you can go out in the shop and make money, you'll never be in the house. And I think she's probably like, she's 100% right. The problem is like I would work real hard all day and then I'd probably drink plenty of beers.
Fair amount of beers.
Machine shop after that and end up with no fingers. But I think I'd work all the time. If I could just come out here and listen to the radio and rock out, like, having trouble sleeping? Oh, let's just go make some parts. I think I would.
As the guy that was self-employed for 7 years, it's a young man's game, depending on the line of work. So a lot of attorneys do go out on their own or hang a shingle and do it. I did it in the beginning of my career, not the end of my career. So, hell, I was still helping build houses, working construction, and doing legal work. And then finally the year came to an end, and I was like, I'm done doing construction. Like, this is what I'm doing full time. Like, obviously, this is what I went to school for, not to frame houses, but do this.
Sure.
But I would say everybody's low-hanging argument about being self-employed is, well, you can do whatever you want. It's your time. That is the biggest crock of shit ever. My calendar then was just as jammed Monday through Friday working for myself because you got to go make money. You eat what you kill. And it turns you into a different person. Like I get accused of being a dick and tough to deal with sometimes. It comes from that because there's a value to your time. You realize what your time's worth. And so I think for me, it's self-diagnosed, but I was and Janelle would probably say it, but I was in and this was before Mom got sick, but I was working so much, the types of cases I was handling, the problems I had, I was, for all intents and purposes, depressed. And it would be so hard to get up in the mornings to go to work because it's like I'm staring down this barrel again. And it's great being self-employed, but you got to make a shit ton of money to make a living. And even out of like a solo practice firm with what you have to pay in taxes, you're paying an assistant, you're paying rent, you're paying office supplies, you're paying for your CLE stuff, you're paying for malpractice insurance. Like you're doing all that stuff, and it takes a big chunk of the pie. And so the self-employment thing is great, and some guys can find it and do it. But I saw our buddy Rabbit Roofing. You need a new roof, call Rabbit. He's done 2 for my dad. He's been great. Like when we finally do our remodel and rip all that damn metal off that son of a bitch, like he's going to be on that roof putting it up there. But, it's the same thing for him. You got to go out and work because nobody's going to make that money for you. He's got crew, he's built his business.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's some professions where you can do that. But then there's some where it's like, if you're out tinkering, it's just like your neighbor up here on the road does car auto body stuff. We'll go by on a Saturday night and the old smokestack's churning out heat and the lights on.
Yep.
And you're working all the time.
Yeah.
And I just think
it's nice to just step away from it.
And in my new role, the biggest thing of it is there's a security that for you, Mr. Kimball's going to keep paying you.
I don't think I'd ever take a vacation, like a week of vacation, if I worked for myself.
Here's the true story of this. 7 years in practice. The most I took was 5 days, and that's when my mother passed away from cancer.
Yep.
5 days was the most I took in 7 years. Now, I'd take a day here, a day there, or a couple here or there, but never to the extent like we do now, where we take a full week and we head down to that swamp. Never.
And I think that's part of the paradigm shift for me, because then this is my time. Like when I was it's 2 years ago, but we're going to say when I was a younger fellow, like, I'm making money for somebody else and I could be making money for myself and blah, 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 blah. But there's something to having somebody else to pick up the slack.
Amen.
You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
I've got a job where I can,
Yeah.
and the beauty of it is, I think, is I hate doing that. Like I won't just leave. I don't want to leave and have somebody like, oh, that SOB left
Left
all
this
this shit
shit
on it.
show, yeah.
But because of that, I think that other people are that way. Like, oh, god dang, I don't want to leave and then pour it all on the poor sap that's behind me. And you don't have that, I think, working for yourself.
I think my personal flaw would be like I'm a pretty good list follower. Like you draw me out a list or you give me a task of duties that need to be done, and I'm going to get it done if I can.
Yeah.
But if you put that like
Just random things that need to be done.
if you put my job would be to make that list, we're
It'd be tough.
yeah, because my ADD brain's going 950 miles a minute, and I'm thinking of all the shit that I need to do,
right.
and then I get overwhelmed, and then I don't do shit.
The operation shut down.
You betcha. So I don't know. I think it would be I think a lot of people get lost in the perks. You know what I mean? They see these guys that are running their own businesses. They're out tomcatting with the hobnobbing with the big rigs and doing going on hunting.
They don't
trips.
see them when they're
Yeah.
working at 11 o'clock at night,
Exactly.
balancing checkbooks or
Doing other stuff.
worrying about things.
No,
Yeah.
the only way that and here's, another real life example. We know my wife's a veterinarian. There was an opportunity to buy one. And I said, if you want to do it, I'll support that son of a bitch all the way through. Like I have no problem if that's what you want to do. But I'm going to tell you this. And I think this was before we had Rhett. I said, you're out for that amount of time. Who's making money here? You're shut down. Or you're paying somebody else to come in, so you're just getting a little cut of it. When it comes to hiring and firing, that falls on you. And this was right around COVID 2020. So it was one of those deals where you're going to lose employees.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's having a hard freaking time hiring people right now because the government was paying people to stay home.
Sure.
These are the things you have to think of. This, an example again, that week we take down, or that week or the few days where we go do this or go do that, you're not getting paid if you're not working.
Right.
And then you got the on-call situation. And then you're working Saturdays.
Ugh.
And still it was in another time zone, so you're still not gaining anything. But if you want to do it, support it 100%.
Sure.
But it's that's the thing. People have to go into doing it. And the only way, I don't want to say the only way or never say never that I wouldn't go back to being self-employed. If one of my kids goes to law school, Dad, I want to not do what I did, but I want to come back to Huntingburg and have a practice. if I'm in a spot in my career where I've done it all right, we'll set it up and we'll run it. It'll be a legacy thing at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I know it was a tough day when I shut down. And like a lot of people thought it was COVID related. It wasn't. It was a good opportunity. I was kind of at my rope's end. I had a major life event where I was like, I'm working myself to a heart attack at 50 for other people when I'm not getting it, you know, and I still was good at what I did. I still enjoyed it, but your priorities change. But if one of my kids, now Zoe wants to be a veterinarian, wants to be like mom, that's cool. Ryan's not interested in anything but just playing, wrestling, and fighting, and Rhett's just a few words at a time. But if one of them goes to law school and is like, hey, I want to do like what you set out to do, 100%. Because it was a good life lesson. Learned a lot of things.
Yeah.
But the other side about being a business person is you got to make money. And you know how many times I would take calls where somebody's like, hey, I'm in a really tough spot. Can you help me out? Yeah, I got you. Well, what do I owe you? Don't worry about it. Or, you know, this or that. And it's some guys, if you're going to get my time, you're going to pay me for it. But for me, I sometimes looked at the future if that's going to be repeat business by doing it and I can make it up in the long run.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, you know, you feel heartstrings for people that like, hey, you know, this is going on. Can you help me out? Yeah, I'll do it at a reduced rate. We can do this. Like, we'll make it work. Well, will you accept payments? A lot of guys, you talk to a lot of attorneys. Hey, can I pay you, you know, like $100 here, $100 there? They'd laugh at you.
Right.
You know, but I had a guy, he was into me for $1,000 and I'd get it $50 at a time, but he paid it off. And there'd be times where he wouldn't pay. And I'd be like, hey, bud, I did you a favor here. Now you got to pay. Like, this is, I don't know. It's a wild thing, but I'd say too, like I was bad at business because somebody calls you, you know, somebody like I did, but it made me feel good as a person though. Like somebody, you know, one example had cancer, kind of late stage. They didn't have any of that stuff. I did it, made the home visit to do it. What do we owe you? Oh, don't worry about it. You for sure? Yeah, don't worry about it. When that person passed, who'd they call to do the estate? Me. You know,
Sure.
But it's one of those things too. Like you got to think about that. Like these guys that have grown successful businesses, they've grown it because at the heart of it, they're decent, good
decent
people to
folks.
deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, Dave. If you're going to go out on your own machine shop, we're going to need a new studio, I guess.
Yeah, we wouldn't have time for a podcast. Maybe that's what the paradigm shift is.
Yeah, it's the podcast to change your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All for the best.
There we go.